One moment. Do a little bit of this. Why, hello there. Let's see if the... Yep, there it goes. Oh, let me... Loud music. Okay, I can turn that down a little bit. And let me make my face a little smaller. Hold on. All right, everybody. I want to be playing some Suzerain today. We played Fermi Paradox the last two times that we were doing that. Both those are up on YouTube. This is going to be, from all intents and purposes, kind of a similar experience, I believe. This is kind of a blind playthrough, so I'm not 100% certain exactly what the gameplay is like, but I do know that it is a narrative experience where you are running a country that's kind of based off of like real-life Turkey, but at the turn of the century. So basically we're going to have to make sure that this country survives into perpetuity by making people happy. And that includes, you know, different members of our country as well as other member states around us. So I've heard it gets pretty real. So it's one of those things where just FYI, politics will come into play here. I mean, it's kind of the name of the game here. So if that upsets you, worries you, yada 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 at this particular moment, I understand, but we're going to be touching on that. So let's get right into it. Ah, okay. Let's give you some choices here. So the Kingdom of Swordland, 1908. You open your eyes to this world. You came from either a wealthy family in the city of Lakovan, a middle-income family in the city of Holsword, or an impoverished family in the city of Dare. Draco's already trying to make me a rich man. I suppose I could be a rich guy. Dare sounds like a good... Well, you're biased. You're just relaying everything I say to Gnome at this point. I don't know, I do like wealthy family, but yeah, you know what? We'll go with wealthy family. I'll stick with Draco's suggestion here. Your parents named you Anton. Anton? Anton? As the only child of a successful businessman, you had the chance to grow up in a wealthy family. Life was easy at first, and you had the best education money could afford. However, things inside the Rain family changed due to the absence of your father. This affected your mother and you negatively. The years passed. Oh. During a history class at school, the bell started to ring unexpectedly. You heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced the historic revolution. The kingdom was no more. The Republic of Swordland was born. You do not fully understand. You were happy that you had the day off, or you were somewhat worried. I would say, let's see, for a A guy born from a rich family, I'm kind of leaning towards I was somewhat worried, because republics don't normally end well for rich people. So let's go for this one for right now. After graduating, you passed the university exams with high marks. You had the opportunity to choose between several studies. I chose, law, economics, or history. These are the same towns from before, too. I don't know, I think... I'm a person of history, I think. During the first year, you attended a lecture with David Husky? Wishy? I want to go with Whiskey. He was a well-known diplomat from the Foreign Ministry and the son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained why realpolitik is important for successful foreign policy. He argued that a strategy based on practical and material factors will be much more successful in reaching Swordland's ambition. You agree on principle, you question what you're being taught. I don't know, realpolitik doesn't normally go well. Especially after, like, 1920s. I'm gonna say I'm questioning what I'm taught. Also, thank you, Hera. This is, the new, little 2D model that I got from, Shady Pixel, was the artist who did this one. So, yeah. I set it up with the, live 2D setup here, so it looks like I'm talking. But otherwise, the two pictures that I have here are in fact from Shady. Yeah, he has a pretty distinct style, so that doesn't surprise me. Soldiers entered the campus in the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. A group of students started gathering in protest, along with your best friend, Peter Vectern. I decided to either protest with the students or avoid confrontation, say. Soldiers into the campus. A man of history, didn't particularly like realpolitik. I think I'm going to protest. One of the officers made a loud announcement that echoed through the campus. General Lutheran declared martial law in order to restore the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. We joined the students that slowly marched towards the large group of soldiers. Suddenly, the soldiers charged. A student fell and was trampled as everybody started running away. No, I think, again, rich kid, I think at this point, I'd say, like, nah. Unlike the others who were lucky to escape. It was a gloomy year. Coward, yeah. Well, like I said, you were the one who suggested I start off as a rich kid. I don't think a rich kid is going to be like, yeah, I need to protest even if people are getting trampled to death. Like, he's going to be like, nah, I got too much money. I'm just going to go home. The coup split the students into two groups and caused frequent fights. Torture and imprisonment of any opposing voice became a daily routine in Dare. You didn't want to stay idle and decided to join a human rights group, a student council, a political debate group. I think we're going to join a political debate group. The dozens of debates helped you hone your oratory skills while also helping you grow your network. Even though the debates were pretty heated between different groups, you all grew from sharing ideas. In one of the meetings, Peter introduces you to one of his friends, Monica, who was a volunteer for the Swedish League of Women. You're immediately attracted to her intelligence, her beauty, her diligence. Volunteer for a League of Women, I think. I'll go with her intelligence. She's out there doing stuff. Politically charged environment led you to join the Red Youth, the Socialists, join the Young Swords, the Nationalists, stay away from any political organization. Let's see. Draco, are you... Just if I had my soundboard on, I would give you a bonk. Let me see if I can. No, I'll do with that later. I was gonna say I don't think I have my soundboard working through Streamlabs yet, but I shall soon. I just have my raw feed from my microphone going through at the moment, so it wouldn't register, I don't think. I think I have an idea of what most of y'all would want me to join, and probably would be the Socialist, but what do y'all think? I'll leave this one up to you guys. Should we join the Socialist, the Nationalist, or just kind of stay away from stuff? Stay away? Okay. I was kind of thinking that too, kind of fits our character so far that we're building. So we're going to stay away from any political organization. Latent interest. God. The radio relayed that the communist general Ricard surrounded Lutheran and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. You just couldn't believe it. The army was fighting amongst themselves. Swordland plunged into chaos. The clashes escalated into a full-blown civil war. The horrors made you isolate yourself for a while. Monica helped you cope, and the love grew between the two of you. However, it was a difficult time for love. The chaos must end. The charismatic colonel, Tarkin Sol, orchestrated a sudden coup and brought an end to the chaos. He wrote a new constitution and restored stability. The people saw him as a savior. He formed the United Swordland Party and ran as a presidential candidate in the first ever elections. I would say, yeah, I'd probably vote for him. USP won the election by a large majority. After graduating, you kept seeing Monica notice her interest to marry. However, a letter arrived from the military calling you to fulfill your compulsory service. It's time to serve my national duty. A devastating civil war broke out in the neighboring country, Welland. Distinguished Major Joseph Lancia ordered you to lead your squad on a border patrol mission. It's a very cold winter night when you begin marching out of government outpost. I can see my breath. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, distant noises were heard. Visibility was too low to confirm the source. The squad crawled forward in formation and found a spot to observe. A group of refugees had found it beyond the border fence. Refugees from the border fence. You live this through? Yeah, I think. After the patrol, Major Lancey arrived with anger and immediately relieved you of your command, calling you a disappointment. One of your squad members had reported your actions. Oh no! After several months of scrubbing the floors as a punishment, your duties ended and you went back to civilian life. You and Monica decided to share your lives together. After receiving the blessing of her parents, a ceremony was held in Holsword. During the same year, you worked hard to secure a high-paying job at the governing United Swordland Party. It was much more difficult to start your career on a good foot because of the refugee incident, but you still managed. Working for the ruling party was the easiest path to power. Financial compensation was too great to pass up. It was the best opportunity to change. I think our rich boy here probably is almost certainly going for financial compensation. I mean, if only because his parents probably would be pushing him towards it. You became the foreign policy assistant to one of the more experienced members of Assembly. You worked long and hard, staying late at work, reviewing dozens of foreign policy plans. I was climbing the ladder. Seoul strengthened the Republic by removing the institutions and symbols of the former kingdom from society. Things were also looking up for the country as the massive economic boom continued, and people were the happiest they had been in a decade. Election time came and it was decided. Arkansas was elected once more. Preparation of the most comprehensive trade agreement with Agnolia was occupying most of your personal time, but your significant contribution to the trade talks triggered an invitation to meet President Tarkin himself, who offered you a key position. You were to become the youngest member of Assembly. Well, obviously I would accept. As the youngest MP, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. You needed allies, so you brought Peter as your right-hand man. The birth of your son, Frank, provided a brief moment of joy and relief. You sacrifice work, spend time with your family, sacrifice family to improve your position in the party. I'm gonna say sacrifice work because while he's about that money, I don't think he's about, I think he lived too rich to be like, you know, like so about that money that he says screw you family. During your absence, Peter found trustworthy contacts and strengthened your position in the party. Good boy, Peter. At the same time, President Sol increased his authority over the years. His growing ego started to cause strife within the party. Uh-oh. The cracks begin to show. President Sol barely secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. Over the past year, people were growing discontent with corruption and a worsening quality of life. Meanwhile, calls for a united Swordsman Party Congress became louder as a leadership struggle started to brew. I watched from the sidelines, kept supporting the president, or joined the internal opposition. This one I'll let chat decide. What should I do? Should I join the internal opposition, support the president, or just kind of watch? Oh, Draco's saying it's opposition. No one's saying opposition. I think everyone wants me to join the opposition. More drama? Yeah, you know what? All right. Joined the internal opposition. You gave your support to Ewald Alfonso, the reformist and talented business magnate, who was the main contender for party leadership. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to secure votes before the Congress, President Sol was meeting party members one by one, but he did not approach me. The party Congress was nothing short of impressive. The banners of United Swordsland were decorating every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for this turning point. The voting for the party leadership began. I guess I voted for the guy I was supporting. The efforts bore fruit as the contentious leadership vote was won by Ewald Alfonso. During the Congress, Sol announced his retirement from politics. He knew the structure he had established was to stay. The country had become increasingly authoritarian. I was happy that Sol was finally leaving, but troubled by the departure of Sol. Didn't care who was in charge. Well, so considering I just joined the opposition party, I would say I'm kind of happy that that actually worked out. A month later, your daughter was born. Monica named her Diana. She motivated you during a tumultuous period in the party. The general elections were approaching. The United Swordsland Party was under the new leadership of Ewald Alfonso. I would join the party and campaign for him. Did your best not to help him. Well, once again, I kind of helped him from the get-go, so I'll keep helping him. During the general election, the main opposition party was embroiled in a sex scandal with the secretary, diminishing their chances. The extensive privatization program proposed by Ewald Alfonso secured an election victory for the United Swordsland Party. Over the next years, I did my best in order to make Swordsland a better place, tried all that was necessary to climb up the ladder, dedicated myself to the party and its success. At this point, I think that he would probably be starting talking about making it a better place. Because, you know, he joined the opposition party, he did his best to get this guy in charge, so he had to be a little bit of an idealist. The presidency of Ewald Alfonso saw many bold reforms, but was followed by a serious economic recession. The other parties announced their bids for the 1953 election, but the unfair system hampered all opposition efforts to win. I thought that your party could not survive another crisis. We're worried about economic recession, worried that your reputation will be tarnished along with Alfonso. Worried about my reputation. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. So are we going to toss Alfonso under the bus? Because that kind of sounds like that's what that's kind of saying. All right, well, I guess we're tossing Alfonso under the bus. Sorry, Alfonso. Together with Peter, your presence in the USB grew and you became the face of a new wing in the party. You effectively took over the leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. The moment to make a move had come. You blamed Alfonso for the crisis on television, bribed and extorted Alfonso's inner circle, advised Alfonso to step down. I think, I'm a good orator, was one of the things, because I was in debate earlier on in life. So I'm thinking probably I'd be the type to go on to television and be like, look at this asshole. He's messing up the country. People saying third, though. I don't know. I might disagree with you on this one, chat. I might choose. I'm gonna put my foot down. I'm gonna blame him on blame Alfonso for the crisis. The media backlash prompted President Alfonso to reshuffle his cabinet, but most of his inner circle abandoned him. The party eventually voted you in because of your charisma as a leader. Haha. Following this, you announced that you would be running for president in the general election with Peter as your running mate. It was my turn. After visiting every city and town during the campaign, you made a speech on state television. You promised to enact democratic reforms or preserve national values. Saying reforms. Yeah, I think reforms. Let's be the idealist at least for now. We'll do some reforms. The people are tired of empty promises. We need fundamental change in our institution and government. A solid and transparent democracy awaits us. Brothers and sisters, a new constitution and a new age is upon us. Our quest is ended. On election day, millions went out to cast their vote. It was time to face the truth. Presented rain. I think I won. Oh, well, that's different. Oh, hey, I can make my dude. I'm going to give him the intellectual facial hair. It'll be in a grand suit with yes, a nice cigar. Yeah. And a nice maroon background. There we go. Not be able to change how President Rain looks from this point forward. Are you sure? Yes. As Anton Rain, you have made many promises to the people of Swordland in order to gain their votes. They must be considered very carefully. Swordland's economy has been based on a planned doctrine since its formation until the former president, Diego Alfonso, enacted free market reforms. Now the country finds itself in between two different economic systems. Promote free market or promote planned economy? I would say, as, again, former rich boy, probably free market would probably be the one I would be choosing here. The intensifying global rivalry between capitalist Arcadia in the west and communist United Kotana in the east is opening new diplomatic possibilities. Swordland could take steps to align itself closer to one. Well, if I'm going to be promoting free market, I kind of have to do the capitalist west. Oh, you want me to change the hair? Yeah, I could have, but sadly that passed. I didn't see that in time. Sorry. We didn't either. Yeah, actually, you know what? I did start talking about how realpolitik was not exactly the smartest move. So yeah, let's do neither for this one. That kind of makes sense. In recent years, Bludish, Wezek, and Agnolian immigrants flocked to Swordland due to relaxed immigration laws enacted by Ewald Alfonso. As a result, tensions in between swords and immigrants have been increasing. Well, we're going to keep them relaxed because we had that thing with the immigrants that are passed, so. We have also promised to focus on a certain extensive subject within our first term. The people expect us to solve the negative situations within this topic, while providing an overall improvement in the related policies. Health. Since the 1940s, the difference of service quality between urban and rural hospitals has been getting increasingly worse, and the average life expectancy has dropped significantly. Education, lack of schools, teachers, classroom equipment in certain areas cause massive gaps in robust education systems. Law enforcement increased crime is pushing law enforcement to their limits, while judges at courts deal with a huge and expanding backlog of legal cases. While the military protects the country from hostile threats, and while some see it as a massive financial burden, others argue it's a critical deterrent. I would say health probably is a good thing to focus on here. But Eric's saying education, and so is Draco. Yeah, you know what? I could say education being his dudes, because he's kind of a big dude in terms of smarts. He went and did the debate team and all that goodness, so he's probably big on education. So we'll have education be his, the promises will be remembered, and they will have consequences. Are you sure about your decisions? No, but I'm going to say yes anyway. 2 weeks have passed since we won the election. I was about to be sworn in as the 4th president of Switzerland. Thousands were watching the inauguration ceremony and cheering my name, Anton Rain. The die was cast, and there my story began. In the distance, the Maroon Palace. See what? Oh, cool. Actually, it's like a little codex that you can just click on and it shows you. Look at that. It's the Maroon Palace. It stood on top of the famous Hill of Pride. I had no way of knowing what future awaited me there. I looked at my family, my son and daughter, Frank and Deanna. Can see them? Hang on. It's Frank. Deanna. We're next to Monica. And Monica. My wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my cabinet. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned on me. Orso Hawker, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. Uh-oh. Look at this dude. Graduated from Imperial Marken University with a degree in legal theory. Public prosecutor. Started working with the Ministry of Justice. Joined the USP after the coup. Close ties of President Tarkin Sol. So he likes Tarkin Sol. Mainly, of course, this decision incorporated highly controversial policies of Tarkin Sol, including the approval of the security package laws and ruling that the British Freedom Party entered the election and was unconstitutional. Huh. Staunch establishment supporter, he represents the majority of the Supreme Court and he is regarded by some as the most powerful and divisive figure in Swiss politics. That's... Time for the oath has come. It has indeed. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will respectfully execute the office of the President of Switzerland to the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the people and the Constitution of the Republic of Switzerland. You may now deliver your inauguration speech, Mr. President. Thank you. Dear citizens of Swordland, you, the people have chosen, together, we will bring prosperity and reform to our nation. It is a time of hope. It is a time of change. In the past, there have been times of survival, times of conflict and economic hardship too, but whenever we stick together, we prevailed. First, we must rewrite our broken constitution from 1929. Change now, not in the next decade or years. Today, hundreds of thousands cheered. They were shouting my name in unison. I felt the responsibility, the power, and the burden all at the same time. I want to wave. I waved to the crowd, which made the crowd cheer louder. I took a long look at the people of Sworland to burn this moment into my memory. One of the presidential guards came by to notify me that it was time to leave. I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. The presidential state car was a jet black Cadilla with flags of Sworland above the front headlights. Next to it, a man was holding the door. Hello, Mr. President. Still under the effects of the speech I made, hearing my new title made me smile. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Sergei, your new driver. Nice to meet you, Sergei. It's an honor. He respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing inside. I entered the car. We will be heading towards the palace. Sergei began to move. On the way, Sergei proceeded to explain his duties as a driver. As minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thoughts again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. He suddenly made a gesture towards the new, now closer palace. Isn't it a beauty? The Maroon Palace. He was right. Sunlight glinted off the palace's many maroon-colored domes. It was so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I am reminded of my duty to this nation. And it's just like, it's just a building, Sergei. It's quiet down. It's just some rocks and stones built into a stupid little building. No, I'm gonna do. So do I, Sergei. It is the beating heart of the nation, after all. Well said, Mr. President. The car drove past the majestic gates, continued uphill to the entrance, and stopped in front of the doors. Sergei got out of the car and opened the door for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. A Morgan Westcor. You refer to the famous Swedish phrase from the time of Revolution. A Morgan Westcor, Vectorens sta, which meant morning will come, victory is close. Vectorens sta. My way upstairs through the extravagant corridors of the palace. Marble and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. My footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. The guards bowed their heads in respect as I opened the massive doors to my new office. Some notes. Oh, for you to take notes. Ah, okay. Always love a feature that just says notes. It's a political overview. I like it's all the people. Look at Yusuf over here. Shoot defense. Map time! Yes. I'm assuming it wants me to click on the thing that has the big exclamation point on it, so let's do that. Read the reports from Holsworth. Logistical issues. Mayor of Holsworth reports that the rising population and vast urban expansions resulted in high levels of congestion in city traffic. So we have problems with roads. General Staff gathers. General Staff convened right after the election to congratulate our victory. All branches of the Swedish Armed Forces were represented in the meeting that took place at Camp Strong Arm. That's a good name for a camp. With massive security measures. The Chief of the Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger. That is also a good name. Holy shit. Chief of the Armed Forces. I want to see. Oh, that is definitely a man who looks like a Vulcan Kruger. Look at this Vulcan Kruger ass man. So to the Imperial Army, holding positions as Colonel and Major General, supported General Luderan's military coup, but later turned against him after Luderan's mass executions. Yeah, you would probably do that, yeah. He's among the group of officers who were organized under Colonel Sol in the Sword of Civil War. He became famed for his military victory along the Wayland border when his smaller brigade destroyed the entire rebel army in the Battle of Suzerain. He was awarded with the White Star by Turk and Sol, the highest medal that can be bestowed upon an individual. Key supporters of Dark Soldier in the 30s and 40s, became the Chief of the Armed Forces in 1945, becoming the oldest person to hold that title. So he is also probably one of those guys that really likes Soul. Which is probably going to be a problem because I kind of screwed him over. Briefing on the current political situation. Office of the President. Peter Vector arrived a couple minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back a smile. We did it, Anton. We won, finally. All those games we played with the media paid off. Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual rakish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top 2 buttons of his shirt. Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you. Thought you'd appreciate a gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. Peter... rakish charm? This is... He gestured to the slight paunch that protruded over his waistband. Oh, he's talking about himself? I guess that's slightly better. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Maroon Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory. Oh, I don't know if I... As much as I... Celebrate the inaugural ball. Drink some whiskey, I'm guessing? Or some form of aged spirit. What do you think? What should we do, chat? Should we have a drink with Peter? I have a feeling that drinking before going to inaugural ball might end badly, but but I'll leave that up to you. Well, if I drink in moderation, time to get white girl wasted. All right, that's fair enough, I guess. All right, we got 1 and 1 so far here. Am I going to have to do the flip a coin? One. Okay, no. Drink with change is not okay. We want to get white girl wasted then. Let's celebrate then. I got my hands on something special for us. An Ellery Maroon, 30-year-old. Oh, okay, it's a city. Ah, it is whiskey. I opened the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it into the 2 glasses I prepared. The exquisite smell filled the room immediately. 1924. That was my freshman year. Also the year after the revolution. Very difficult times, to be honest, but it smells like heaven. The future awaits, Peter. I raised my glass and toasted it with Peter before smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tones combined with an oaky taste developed into a lingering spookiness. Peter really seemed to be enjoying himself. Yeah, I bet he is. What a taste! This is how we should start all meetings, Anton. We wouldn't get much done, remember the last administration? Yeah, but we are different. All they did was enjoy the privilege. We can't make the same mistakes again. We learn from it all. Yes, we did. The door swung open, and Lucien Gillade, my chief strategist, walked in. He was a compact man with sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen. This whole case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn, you were exactly on time. Hello, Peter. Lucien then turned towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. Let's not waste any time, Lucien. Proceed with the overview. As you wish, sir. Lucien spoke in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Peter and I waited for him to proceed. Let's start by evaluating our current situation. The majority of the Swordfish people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the Constitution. But they blame the system for their problems. Well, yeah, that sounds fair. People are losing their trust in our democracy. Why do you think radicals like Birded Circus are becoming more popular? Everyone's expecting us to bring the change the last government did not. Who's Birded Circus? Swordfish poet, novelist, short story writer, and politician. Joined the Red Youth during the Sword of Civil War. Ah, so he's a socialist. He fled Swordland after the war was over, surviving the purge of Tarkin's soul. Moved to Kantana, which is the, again, socialist. So at the Communist University of there he was influenced by the artistic experiments of continent poets who would advocated futurism as well as the ideological vision of millennium. Yeah, so he's a strike organizer and socialist / communist. Okay. So he ain't gonna like me very much. Benz Victor, leader of the Reformists, believed that true change can only be accomplished by transferring some of our powers to the Assembly. I'll move into the details of the demand shortly. I agree with the Reformists. Our responsibility is to democratize our broken system. We need to listen to the people if we want to serve this country, or if we lose power, we won't be able to execute the changes we need to make for the good of the country. Basically ran on democratizing stuff, so it'd be a little silly to stop that now. I agree with the Reformists. It's exactly what we campaigned for. Haha! See? Peter knows. A true change that will move the country forward. We will need many allies against the old guard and the government. Uh-oh. That's never a good sign. Some call it an urban myth and dismiss it. Others are claiming the existence of a wide deep state that controls the state apparatus. No, not the deep state! Got ourselves a conspiracy. Indeed. We need many allies against the old guard. The government said that already. Mr. Richter managed to persuade many members of Assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in numbers. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter. Students we reformists aren't wrong to agree that we need change. We should be in charge. So is Richter the... No, we didn't. Okay, we haven't looked at Richter yet. The People's Freedom and Justice Party. Ah, okay, so he's kind of an American sort of Western-leaning type of guy, because he's imported machine parts from Arcasia, which is kind of their U.S. stand-in, and then made a very pro-democratic party. But he's also not like, he's also a businessman, so he's not like a communist. Not one of those damn commies. I say Mr. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the Assembly. He's definitely key in this. Reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto power, ensure that the Supreme Court is independent, and take away the court's right to vote on constitutional amendments. That seems reasonable. We must listen to their demands, otherwise we are no different than the previous administrations. I agree. We can't ignore the winds of change, after all. Thank you, Peter. The Old Guard will do its best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judges have a great influence at the Supreme Court. I knew the Chief Justice would be a problem. The Supreme Court will be tough to break. The court also has the final say over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it. We need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly, or we must break the power of the Supreme Court one way or another. What do you think? Should we break them, or should we try to kind of negotiate and make a comprehensive bill? Draco over here being the voice of moderation, negotiating all the time. Remember, the guy that's leading the Supreme Court might be the leader of this old guard that we were talking about that, like, really wants to go back to, like, a monarchy. So, or dictatorship. So, he may not necessarily be the most friendly of people. Oh, also, I have an idea. Hold on. I want to do this. What? Yeah. Husky president. I think, yeah, we'll go with a comprehensive bill. We'll do a comprehensive bill in this particular case. I agree. The old guard won't like this, though. Well, screw the old guard, then. A comprehensive reform that would make the reformists happy would mean maintaining a balance between all branches of government. Which means removing your absolute veto as well. The reformists demand that all loopholes in the Constitution are closed. Looks like we have many challenges ahead. We can figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of 250 seats in the Assembly. We've got the power. However, to reform the Constitution must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court, that equates to 6 votes. After we have settled on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get the 150 signatures needed to start the process. Okay. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders to see if they would back our draft. The last step is to convince the justices of the Supreme Court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with the Reform Committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution as soon as possible. We will write a more democratic constitution with the reformists. That's what we've been preparing for internally. Don't forget that promise is what got us elected, of course. The key thing here will be strengthening the power of the Assembly, which we already lead with a majority. We did not appear. Yes, the divisions of power need to be rebalanced for a better Swordland. According to the initial draft we made with the reformists, there are 2 changes to the Constitution that are not open for the discussion. First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. Second, the President's absolute veto will be taken away. This will be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes. I'd rather not include either of these points. Or, no. I have no problem. Yeah, I have no problems. Yeah, let's work with reformists. Yes, sir. We will form a reform committee together with all parties and start reaching out to all of the stakeholders in the Assembly and the Court for a new constitution. By later in the year, we should have an idea of the reform contents and what the other parties want. Another important point, we must be aware of the Lotharberg group. With the Lotharberg group, son of a Noel Tusk, who used to be the economic advisor of the King of Swortland. Currently, the spokesman of the organization is Walter Tusk, his grandson. With their structure of leadership, the spokesman is... Meetings are secret, but many analysts suggest the topics of the economy, security, it's the, their version of the Bilderbergs. Okay. Got it. The Bilderberg group in real life is very similar to that. It's a group of basically high-functioning, well, high functioning isn't really the right word. Highfalutin, I guess would be the proper term. Really rich people who get together into a group pretty much every year or every couple years in a secret meeting somewhere in Switzerland and talk about like economics and reform and and how all different countries are functioning. It's a very big, as you might imagine, a very large conspiracy magnet, considering it's basically a bunch of rich people getting together and arguably trying to figure out how the world works in their favor. So it's one of those things where you'll hear the Bilderbergs tossed around a lot whenever you go into kind of the crazier side of the internet, alongside some other names. I'm trying to think, what was it? Famous bankers that I always forget the name of. Anyway, they're amongst them. The oligarchs convene under this organization to influence economic policies. Conrad led it for a long time before falling ill. The new leader is Mr. Walter Tusk. So he's an engineer, leader of a steel group, leader of the Lotharberg group, of course. And he got a lot of shares and stuff like that when they had the privatization that didn't super go well. And he has investments in Arcasia, which is basically, like I said, the kind of the totally not USA. So he's, yeah, a diehard capitalist. According to reports, some member of the National Business Council are in their pockets. Tusk and the group will surely try to bribe us in exchange for special economic protections. I want to work with them anyway. The new administration will be able to talk to businessmen. I will enter a dialogue with them eventually. We need to be diplomatic. Wise approach. It's good to understand and see if we can reach a middle ground. As far as I know, Marcel Caronti has some strong ties with this group. His influence could definitely be an asset for us, but I'm sure he'll want something in return. Who's Marcel Caronti? Businessman, philanthropist, entrepreneur. So he's another big shot in media and tourism and stuff like that. Okay. I'm aware of Mr. Grunty's wide network. That could come in handy. Yeah. We just need to be careful with him. He looks like the lesser evil, but it could very quickly turn out to be the other way around. We need to tread carefully on all sides with all power players to survive our term. I need to underline the seriousness of this situation. The military and general staff are a powerful element in the state, and as history tells us, a dangerous one too. We do have some room to make structural changes by reducing their budget, for example, but it is quite limited. Actually, yeah, this one seems like the most reasonable. I want to receive the advice of the military before making up my mind. Let's talk with the military before we do anything drastic. It is sound to listen to them, but they have very biased in their opinions. Well, that's true. I mean, one of the guys is named General Kruger, and he looks like this. There's no way that this guy is not going to be like, yeah, totally, give us more money so we can bomb shit. His name is Vulcan Kruger. If this dude doesn't personally start a war by the end of this game, I'm going to be surprised. Defense Minister Josef Lancia is more loyal to us as compared to General Kruger. A fact that obviously can change with our actions. Either way, I see a potential rift between the two since they are very clearly of different minds. Oh yeah, Josef Lancia is this guy. He's just the guy, yeah. I was to say his name sounded familiar. We act strongly against the military. Both of these guys will unite against us. I agree with Lucian. We need to tread carefully here. Well then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media strategy. Talk to you soon, sir. We'll keep in touch. See you both at the next meeting. What's the news say? Oh, dang. Our Committee for Reforms. With all three political parties in the Assembly has been formed for the preparation of potential changes. Spoke of change and hope. A lot here. Dang. Huh. That's a little worrying. The runner-up for the general vote, the PFJP, was the guy that we're potentially going to be allying with for this reform effort, didn't concede until the last minute, despite clear results just hours into the election. Support in Assembly grows for campaign finance bill. So does National League start the season? Are they having a footy? I think they are. The Radical. Another USB president? How many times will people fall over the same trap? Oh! Goodbye, Noma! Thank you for showing up and seeing the beginning of President Husky. Structure the infrastructure? Solonomics! A new era begins for Switzerland and it holds many economic questions. Oh, okay, so this is, yeah. Rumburg coming south and foreign policy analysts who are reviewing the recent aggressive military and diplomatic developments of Rumburg. Come to the conclusion that it's highly likely that Rumburg will keep trying to push for the south. Rumburg. Kingdom of Rumburg. Alright. What's the news at the moment? Let us up. Is our country over here? Ah, interesting. current situations and active policies. Interesting. All foreign committee has been formed to discuss the possibilities of a new constitution with all parties. Right. Alfonsonomics. Oh, that's all the massive problems that we have. Great. All right. Let's see. Public opinion report. People's views on the need for democratic reform in the government structure has changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leader of the People's Reform and Justice Party, Franz Victor, resulted in a massive increase in demands for democratic reforms. It is estimated that currently 55% of the population supports the reformist ideas. Well, we also kind of supported them, so... Meeting on the media strategy. Lucian and Peter arrived at my office. Talk about recent developments in media strategy. They both took their seats across from me. Lucian put on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Peter turned to Lucian and nodded. Let's begin. First of all, Lucian, you mentioned that Marcel Caronti contacted you. Caronti has always been known as one of the richest and most influential families in Swordland. Yeah, we talked about him. He was the guy we're potentially going to be allying with against the totally not Bilderbergs. He was the oldest son of Conrad Caronti, the industrialist and media mogul who founded HOS, the richest man in the entirety of Swordland. Lucian turned to me. He has offered to meet with you, Mr. President. What does he want? After the passing of his father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. He mentioned a productive collaboration. Powerful and influential media conglomerate. To start with, they own the Swordland Today newspaper, the Southern Broadcasting Corporation, which means it would be wise to have them on our side. Sorry for interrupting. What does this productive collaboration entail? I don't wish to explain the details on the phone, but rather in person. Ah, that's a good sign. I believe I will be receiving a call from him sometime soon. However, as Peter said, they have substantial power over the contents of media outlets. Headlines, radio shows, that is what he would be offering. What he would want in return is what we need to understand. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to the media. I'm no media expert, but Lucian made some very interesting arguments at the preparation meeting yesterday. Two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it. Others would be keeping them independent. Ooh. This is going to be an interesting one. What do y'all think? Should we stick with our perhaps naive but also optimistic reformist ways and say that we need an independent media, or should we start utilizing it to further our goals? Draco, always the pragmatic centrist over here, has said independence through the media, as he would, the pragmatic centrist. Does you? Does anyone else have any thoughts on what we should do with the media, or am I just going to go with Draco here? Because I'm kind of in agreement. I think we probably should. It's a little too early to just say like, nah, screw that. We're just going to go against our principles. How are we to arrive at a good country without doing that? At the same time, how are we going to arrive at a good country if they're always talking mess about us? You know, it's independent doesn't necessarily mean free. It just means that they're not under control of us. So, yeah. Look at our country. Hehehe. All right. We'll keep it independent. We'll, like I said, we'll be the naive pragmatists here. The yay reform. Ideally, yes, but an unpopular leader will not be able to pass even the easiest reforms. It is utmost important to maintain public popularity and avoid any damaging scandals or mistakes. I must stress one thing, Mr. President. The more people we have supporting our agenda, the more we can accomplish. With someone on our side in an influential media organization, we can do this very easily. Yeah, I have to kind of agree. I see what you're getting at. I agree with Lucian, but why the assumption there'll be scandals and mistakes? We can always hope for the best, but do we really think that nothing can go wrong, especially considering the very recent history of Swordland? Who is it? Livia, Mr. President. Who are you? Ah, my new secretary. The one that Lucian was getting all grabby hands at. Dark curls bounced as she crossed the room to my desk. She spoke with a slight lilt in her voice. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Galade's secretary has been calling me and wanted me to relay a message. Oh, it's the guy we're talking to now. Marcel Caronti, the new CEO for HOS Conglomerate, is on the line for Mr. Galade. Well, the ball's in our court now. Would you like to talk to him, sir, or would you like me to? I think I would like to personally talk to him. Right away, sir. Connecting the call to line 1. Picked up the phone. There he is. The President speaking. It's an honor, Mr. President. My time is valuable, so I will not waste any of it. I was just elected CEO of HOS. My strategy in the running of this conglomerate will be different than my father's approach. This is why I'm offering a partnership deal regarding our media branch. I'd like to formally invite you to my resort near Conriat for a meeting to discuss the details. What does that entail? Our future as partners, Mr. President. Surely we can't talk about the details on the phone. I just wish to have a face-to-face conversation with you. I will send you the details through my secretary if you are interested. Yeah, I kind of have to... Yeah, we're gonna have to perhaps work with this asshole. I don't like it. I don't like it. But we'll have to at least see what he has to say. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Well then, I will let you return to your packed schedule. See you later, Mr. President. See you later, Mr. Conti. So things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting next month. Wonder if he has a pool. Peter, it's not the... Because we're done for today. We will continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time. See you soon, gentlemen. You're already getting the attention of key figures, and potentially dangerous ones. Yeah, like this asshole. If I click on these? Oh, just tells me information about stuff. Ah, interesting. I can have... Looks like talks, maybe, with other... Ooh, look at that! Look at that cool map! Why is that one doing this one doesn't? Why is Lesbia the only one that gets a cool map? Oh, this one gets a cool map. What's Bromberg? Yeah, Bromberg gets a cool map. Apparently it's just big seals. Big seals get big maps. It was... When's Husky going to show up as advisor? Husky president! Alright, let's see what the sign or veto the electoral campaign finance bill that was approved by the Grand National Assembly. Before that, I should probably do the briefing on the current economic situation. Simon Hall, Gus Manger, Lilia's Craft was about to arrive in the White House, or White Room for our scheduled economy meeting. This was the room in the Maroon Palace where all important meetings were held. Two assistants arrived first, carrying a heavy projector. They stood with it by the door, waiting for the ministers to enter. In the hallway, I heard Lilia's Craft's voice. She was using the patient, almost motherly tone she often took in heated arguments. Gus, do you really think that such an economically advanced area is more in need of investment than England? Region, Switzerland, Border region. Ah, that's the reason why. Okay, that's the reason why these don't have flags. That these are actually regions of Swordland. I get it now. Liz, my interior minister, strode in. She was clad in shades of brown and beige, the only spot of color a bright yellow Nurist star on her necklace. Nurist? Just explaining her. Okay, no. Don't be idiots, Lilius. What about the unemployment crisis the greater Holsword and Gelsland regions are going through? Those areas are economic heartland. Reaching network of connections was unlike any other. The feeling we're going to have to be happy with Gus. Seven Holes talking now. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Very well motivated, Mr. Rain. It seems our ministers are feeling the same. I can clearly see that. What was that discussion about? Having the discussion about the infrastructure plans. If I may, I would like to talk to you about the... We will get there, Gus. No rush. First, I would like to conduct my economy presentation. Let's begin. Silk handkerchief out of his pocket. Oh, it's a little bit of a dandy there. My staff and I have comprehensively analyzed every aspect of... Literally grown from one of the assistants by the door, both of whom were now visibly struggling to hold up the heavy projector. Oh, you can put that there. He pointed below the painting of President Soul. The assistants placed the projector next to the table and installed a white screen on the wall. Leave now. I mean, thank you, and please leave now. Assistants left the cabinet room. I was reminded that Simon had never quite had a way with people, but his facility with numbers had made him the most sought-after economic specialist in Swordland. Simon started looking for his slides. Yeah, leave now. I mean, shoot. Thank you. Please leave now. Yeah, just... Alright, well, guess we're leaving now. Simon started looking for his slides. He always carried documentation around with him. I will wait. Lilius leaned to the table and spoke. Simon, what happened to the new police station construction in Estord? Remote answer. It got stalled due to a government property boundary issue. I have been meaning to look at it. I can take a look at that one. Estord needs all the security help it can get. Sure. What time for me to spend on analysis? There have been some developments about Swordish Ren losing for the valley today. I think that's our currency. We've been trying to stabilize it with the central bank. Session of 51 put enormous pressures on the economy, resulting in the collapse of the values of our currency. The entire situation was a significant cause of concern for our administration. What would you like to know about the current economic situation? What is our unemployment and inflation rate? Oh, good lord. Unemployment has skyrocketed. It's now at a staggering 16%, and the inflation is a relatively high of 7%. 16% unemployment is kind of catastrophic. That's a big deal. I mean, to put it in perspective, I think the unemployment of the U.S. often stands around maybe half or less than that, and even at 8%, I think U.S. unemployment is considered high. So that's like double what you would consider high in the United States. Unemployment is increasing crime and drug use. We need to get people off the streets. The inflation isn't helping our average citizens either. What's our GDP and debt situation? Current GDP is 310 billion Swedish Ren, and the national debt is 427 billion. It's hard to fathom that we lost nearly 150 billion in wealth. The past 3 years were tough. What is the status of the recession? Spain has been in a recession of about -6% in the past year. Ooh. Oh, that's not good either. Yeah, peak unemployment in 2008 recession was 10%. Yeah, that I thought I had remembered that too. So yeah, that's Bad. I think the quick and dirty answer for that unemployment number is bad. The economy has been in recession about -6% in the past year. The average GDP has dropped from SR 15,000 per capita to SR 10,000. That's a pretty big drop too. Administration's success depends on our ability to stop the recession. The sooner we can reach GDP growth, the better. Well, the Great Depression? Yeah, Great Depression was probably in the 20 or 30%-ish, if I remember correctly. It was, yeah, it was potentially worse than that, yeah. Yeah, 24, yeah. So we are, I mean, 16% is still not that far away. Yeah. I have all the information I need. Let's move on to the economic strategy. As you can see, the situation is alarming, but not everything is negative. The extensive privatization program of Alfonso left us a large budget surplus which we can use to stabilize the crisis. The primary subject we need to settle on is what general path we will take on our term. Solonomics-based nationalism happened in the 30s, and Alfonso privatization began during the end of the 40s. What will our administration focus on? One of our main promises was to promote a free market economy to stop the recession. To be frank, I believe it's the only way out of the recession. So do not support it. Why promote the private sector when we have qualified state-owned enterprises? The lack of competition has made them inefficient. Humanity in the 20th century is thriving because of the rule of supply and demand. Ah yes, let us go full capitalist. Agreed. Look at how quickly Lesbia and Arcasia have increased their prosperity by embracing these basic principles. Yes, and nothing ever bad happened to the United States ever again. Switzerland has the potential to do so as well. Why don't we take our potential seriously? Integrating heavily in a market economy would work if we had extensive means of production. Our industry is lacking. Structural problems of Solonomics were going to lead to recession, according to the predictions of the time anyway. Either way, even if we pick one of the doctrines, we retain the option to make economic choices on a case-by-case basis. That is, however, not recommended in my point of view. The last thing we need is a chaotic economic plan. There's another important point which has a direct impact on our economy. Superpowers. We have not done well. We have done well not aligning ourselves with any one of them. Isolationist policy overall could work if we were to reap the benefits of both spheres and their rivalry. It's very dangerous to attempt, but still possible. Must be very cautious. There are schemes being devised about Switzerland. We cannot give in to their wants now or in the future. Otherwise, our country will turn into a pond. Switzerland will not be controlled by any nations. Precisely my point. It will stand strong and show an example to the world. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Minister Husky will be in charge of informing you on this type of foreign policy decision. We must first decide on our internal economic plan. Let's finish what Alfonso started with the capitalist free market reforms. His path was going to enrich Switzerland. You must note that the reason for the recession was because Ewell Alfonso was betrayed by his party. That was not true. There was plenty of time for him to do it. We can't make change happen in 2 years, and you're at fault. Would a free market focus bring us stronger allies? It would make Arcasia look at our country in a more positive light. They are proponents of a free market economy. The influence Arcasia has on the world economy is extensive. Our economic strategy should be based on internal reasoning, though. It's on our long-term economic schedule. Heating construction company, trade relations, tax reform, and privatization initiatives would be some of them. Sticking to a solid planned economy strategy will be the right call. The 5-year plans were fruitful in the past. A market economy doesn't require as much guidance and can help us attract foreign capital. Especially from Arcasia. President Walker is always interested in expanding the economic zone of Eto. We can secure lucrative investments from capitalist countries. So what will our general economic plan promote? What's a free market economy as we promised? Lilius, look displeased. Lilius will remember this. Now that there's clarity on which direction we are heading, I will work on a good plan accordingly. This concludes our meeting. In our next gathering, we'll talk about the upcoming infrastructure investment plan. Oh. Look at all this news. Our meeting. Quarantine's passed away. Where's the temperatures report? Nationalist violence! Members, inaugural ball. Not nationalist violence! Yeah, well, it does suck. We're not really pro-nationalist, so... Aberdeen Industries, pioneering electronics. Ooh! Prototype for the first pocket radios blazed by the Arcasian electronics company Armadine Industries. They're making... not this... Well, I guess, yeah, Walkmans. Watch. Swordland's regional trade. What does folks on the list think of Swordland? I do not know. Increasing unemployment in Morna. The number of people filing for unemployment at Morna continues to rise as the recession continues. The change in economic conditions is historic and stunning in its speed. In the aftermath of the crisis of 1951, the unemployment rate in Morna rose to 9% in the following year. The last 6 months have almost erased all gains in employment over the last 2 decades. That sucks. What does Leslie have to say? Congratulations from Prime Minister Alvarez. Or so the threats of the encroaching Malyenovist. Oh, Malyenovist. Hello. What's the cabin over here to do? Ooh, I like the idea of mega infrastructure. Ministry of Economy has put forward 2 bold plans for mega infrastructure projects that would help with the economic recession in the long term. Investing in projects of this scale will take up some portion of our budget, but could prove worthwhile successfully. Yeah, sure. Let's invest some. We lost some of our budget, but infrastructure sounds like a good idea. Port of Le Cavan, those is important. The latest marine traffic reports show that the Port of Le Cavan is no longer the busiest of the Mercopa continent. Major port will hopefully keep supporting the possible economic upturn in the country if investment projects succeed. Ah, so that's actually what we just did. Probably is a good thing. Discussion of the potential infrastructure. Oh well, I just did it. So well, I guess we'll talk about the thing I just funded. Gather the economic team here to discuss the new infrastructure investment project. Oh no, didn't have his afternoon coffee. Get me from the windows, let my mind drift for a couple of seconds. Simon's voice brought me back down to the ongoing discussion. Mr. President, we need to focus on boosting the economy as quickly as possible. One of the fastest ways to achieve this is through infrastructure projects. Agreed, considering I just funded one. On the one hand, businessmen are complaining about the slow logistical rail networks between Holsworth and Lochhaven. On the other hand, citizens are criticizing the lack of proper highway connections between Lochhaven and Arbury. The narrow roads by the seaside are not only dangerous, but also difficult to traverse. Well, we already, I think, spent money on the Lochhaven one. Draco, we may have to head off? Uh-oh. Alright. Well, if you want to head off, then I will see you later, Draco. We'll probably not be streaming for too much longer. I know a certain, I think a certain Shark is actually going to be streaming later tonight. It might be in an hour or so. So maybe around 9 o'clock we'll call it, which will be around 30 minutes from now. I need to still eat dinner too, so that's also going to play into it. So, but I kind of want to see where this goes. I'm having a fun time so far. It's a lot more reading on this one than I kind of expected. I was kind of expecting it more to be like the Fermi Paradox, which was a decent amount of reading, but had a lot of visuals and stuff like that too. This is It's a lot of characters. Hope I enjoy the reading. Yeah, so far, like I said, I'm enjoying this. This is definitely one that, if I didn't play it on stream, I definitely would be playing it myself and just kind of skimming through some of this, to be quite honest with it. But, yeah, no, this is fun. So, I will definitely be continuing it at some point. But let's finish up here for today with, like I said, in about 30 minutes or so. On the other hand, citizens are criticizing the lack of proper highway connections between the Caven and Arbor. I think I just said that. Narrow roads by the seaside are not only dangerous. Yeah, we did that. We hear the calls of the businesses in this days of recession. Agreed. And improving the rail connections from Holsworth to the Caven will be much more beneficial to our economy. It's not the business people that suffer, but the ordinary folk. Yes, but it's the business people that get us money. Really matters, though, is that we can accomplish something tangible in your first economic act. We must prove our administrative capabilities. The people must know that this administration can get things done. Two important projects for your attention: the H3 Highway Project and the L1 High-Speed Railway Project. The Ministry can only support one project at a time with the current capacity and budget. Let's move on to the details at once. So which one do you want to hear about first? I always like high-speed rail. There's Alfonso has failed to deliver on this campaign promise, but now we have the opportunity to start the construction of the groundbreaking railway project. As you know, our current trains cannot meet the standards of today. As many other countries adopt this new electric engine technology to power up the trains, we fall one step behind. News about the new electric trains in United Cotana has piqued the business interest. They too want to transport resources and materials from Holsworth to Lakehaven with great speed and efficiency. Must obtain the highest quality technology or superpowers. This could also empower the businesses and bring investments. Major cities of Sortland need more infrastructure to support their growing population. I would say this could also empower the businesses and bring investments. It should be our priority: growth and development optimization. Plan is to upgrade the old L1 line from Holsworth to Lakehaven. It will transform to a high-speed rail. I looked at the map. Gus was pointing at Holsworth while Simon was looking attentively. The planned construction starts right here at the capital. We will go to Enrica first, so here. And then connect it to Gelsort, so here. After which it will reach the Caven, our economic powerhouse. That will significantly boost the economy in the newly linked cities and even the rural areas in between. The Caven is our primary port, so the goods unloaded there will be transferred to Holsworth much faster. I believe this would benefit the businesses in Sortland as a whole. Wealthy middle-class citizens of these regions, but not for the poor dears who wouldn't be able to afford the increased ticket prices. Well, screw them, we got big old trains to build. Mayor of Enrica, Curtin Lest also requested the project to be prioritized. Businessmen in the region will be very content, which increases investment and employment. Therefore, I will recommend the L1 high-speed rail project. Settled on a decision. Excellent. What will be your final choice? I have decided on the L1 high-speed rail project to improve the connection between our most productive cities. Industry estimates that the entire construction will finish in 2 years if every step going forward is executed successfully. Thank you all for your contributions and thoughts. Have a nice day, Mr. President. Session led to a reduction of rail assets, with more than a fifth of the railway network itself antiquated, being mothballed in the recent years. So yeah, they want a new railway real bad. What does Dare have to say? Increased homelessness. Ugh. 25% increase homelessness. That's not great. Promising agriculture growth. Well, that's a good one. First time in 3 years, the agriculture output of Sarna has increased. Alright, well, good. Alright, look. Started our construction right here. Party committee report. Reform Committee reports that any potential change to the Constitution in the direction of the reformist will likely result in strong opposition from the National Front Party. Well, screw them, they sound bad. Nationalist ultra-conservative political party in Switzerland. Sauter Kibbener. Not a fan. Member of Assembly in support of such direction seems to be in great numbers, and possibly make up a majority in the Grand National Assembly, while most members of the United Switzerland Party seem reluctant about supporting such changes. Oh, I muted my mic for a second, and then I was talking, and then I didn't hear see my Husky moving. To answer your question, Erica, it's the stuff in parentheses here shows off, I think, what it's actually going to be doing. So we're going to be increasing the USP, which is our party's election budget, and a slight increase to the other parties, but it'll remove funding from all sort of the minority parties. So any minority party, like I'm assuming kind of like communists and ultranationalists and like ethnic group parties and stuff like that, would be kind of screwed over. But unfortunately, I do think we need to keep our USP guys on side, otherwise we're not going to get too much done here. So I'm going to have to, I think I'm going to sign this one and keep them happy. What's the news have to say about that? Electoral funding reform. Signed by law, President Rain has the approval. Friends of Richter, who objected to the funding patches, saying it contained too much unfairness in the allocation, also sought to delay proceedings by demanding a formal reported vote. Uh-oh. Richter, who didn't like it. I don't know. I didn't see that one. Well, so we may have pissed off Richter, which is not so great, but hopefully we made sure that, It might have been a mistake, but we'll have to live with it, I guess. Opportunity to buy stocks from Arcasian Company. Oh. A personal investment opportunity has been relayed by Mr. Menger, an experienced stockbroker in Ventry City. Arcasia is selling valuable shares of Armandine Industries, an up-and-coming electronics manufacturing company. We can invest or let the opportunity pass. I'm going to buy 2,000 shares, because Armandine sounds like some stonks I want to get involved with. Reception at the inaugural ball. I just finished buttoning up my suit jacket when the doorbell rang. Mrs. Regard had arrived to pick us up for the inaugural ball. It's a 3-decade-old tradition, breathlessly anticipated by politicians, bureaucrats, and the press. All eyes were about to be on me. I called on Monica to get the children ready. Looking in the mirror, I straightened my tie and took a deep breath. After tonight, there would be no turning back. Suddenly, Deanna hugged me from behind, startling me a little. Monica had fixed her hair into an elaborate braid woven through with ribbons. Papa, Mama told me it's time to go. Hello, darling, I am ready. Where is your brother? I think Franck is still upstairs. She shrugged. It's almost time to leave. The big ball was starting in less than an hour. Darling, Frank, it's time. Monica came down the stairs. She was wearing a simple yet elegant beige sheath dress and short heels. Her hair had been neatly pinned in a chignon. Chignon? Showing off the pearl earrings I had given her for her 15th anniversary. All those years she had stayed by my side. Now we were about to begin the most challenging chapter in our lives yet. How do you do, Mr. President? Kiss her hand. Monica, my love, you look as gorgeous as the day we married. Frank trudged down the stairs. This thing itches. Glad to have you with us for this big night. Papa, are these people going to be around us from now on? These people are our friends, Deanna. They're here to make sure nothing bad happens to Papa or his family. Monica held Deanna's hand. Together, flanked by the guards, we walked out the door. Halfway to the car, Frank stopped abruptly and turned towards me. Dad, do I really have to go? Couldn't I stay home instead? I'm nervous myself, Frank, but I'd feel a lot more confident with my son by my side. Like, it's a party thrown for me! Don't you want to support your father? Why don't you want to go and celebrate me? Because I'm the greatest. Who cares what you think? I'm awesome. Nah, I'm gonna go. I'm nervous myself, Frank. When you put it like that, sure, let's go. As the guard showed us the way as red and blue lights flashed around us. Sergei, my driver, ushered us into an armored limousine. The motorcade started moving towards the palace. I gazed out the window, deep in thought. Anton, what are you thinking about? With all that's been happening, I'm wondering if I made the right choice. A lot on your mind, but you deserve to relax tonight. Just remember, no matter what happens, the children and I will always be here for you. I want to help Papa fix everything. I know you will, honey. This means a great deal to me. Sergei rolled down the limousine's soundproof partition. We are here, sir. Hope you enjoyed the drive. I did, Sergei. Thank you. Always a pleasure to hear that. Sergei opened the door for me. The normally imposing palace was festooned with garish banners that nearly made it look cheerful. A line of shiny luxury sedans stretched around it. Politicians, bureaucrats, and celebrities, the creme de la creme of the Swordland elite, streamed inside the building. Good luck out there, Mr. President. I'll see you on the trip home. Stepped out and immediately found myself surrounded by loud voices and camera flashes. Hordes of eager journalists thrust their portable microphones my way. Our guards fended off most of them, but one woman managed to dodge them and corner me. I recognized the Swedish Broadcasting Company logo on her press lanyard. Mr. President, do you plan on working together with the opposition parties on the expected constitutional reforms? My administration will bring real change. Does that mean you don't plan on working together? You think you share no common ground with the other parties? Yeah, just like that. Just fuck all that. Democracy, what? We're just going to do our own thing. I did not say that. One more question. Your first acts as president was to sign a campaign finance law allocating public election funds by seats in the assembly as opposed to numbers of votes. Is this a deliberate attempt to defund the Communist Party and the Bloody Workers' Party, neither of which have reached the election threshold? Why don't you questions? Arrest this woman. To ensure the USP has the funds, we need to stay in power long enough to truly bring democracy to this country. And just decorative beautiful ribbons and Swordland's color of white, yellow, maroon. A lush maroon carpet had been rolled out down the stairs. We entered the lobby and joined the throngs of people making their way towards the ballroom. Behind me, I heard a familiar voice. It's Peter! There they are, the most beautiful family in Swordland. Uncle Peter! Hi, Uncle Peter, it's great to see you. You are growing faster than I'm getting wiser. Oh, that Peter. Are you sure you've got any wiser, Peter? Maybe not. After all, I'm still sticky with you. Oh, snap! Peter's got burns. Happy to see a familiar face, Peter. Evelyn? Peter's wife, Evelyn, approached us and shook our hands with a firmness that belied her delicate features. Congratulations, Anton. I have to say, the results were clear to me from the beginning. Appreciate it, Evelyn. It means a lot. It's time to celebrate this victory. Start by getting some drinks? No, exactly. That is why we're here. Peter's all about those drinks, though. We can start by getting some drinks. Peter grinned and beckoned a roving waiter. The four of us each took a glass of champagne. Monica, how are you? We barely said a word. Shots, yes. No, it's champagne. It's a fancy place. I'm more than relieved to have this roller coaster ride over with, but of course now the real work begins. Ah yes, managing the help, planning parties, daily trips to the salon, to look your best for foreign dignitaries. Don't be so old-fashioned, Evelyn. I plan to use my power as First Lady to advance the position of women throughout Switzerland. Equal rights for our sex are long overdue, wouldn't you say, Anton? Absolutely, and we'll work together to achieve that. Papa, can we go? I want to see the ballroom. Yes, it's time. Let's go. So we had again surrounded by a noisy crowd, but this time it was the politicians who sought to appease the new authority in Switzerland. For the next few hours, shaking hands, joining various conversations, some serious, some superficial, and making speeches. We finally settled down at our dinner table with the Vecturns as the band started playing some slow jazz tunes. Oof, that was tiring. Another drink? Well, suddenly a loud banging noise echoed from outside the ballroom, then another, and another. Uh-oh. Oh no, I think some bad stuff's about to happen. The musicians had stopped playing. Everyone in the room was looking around in confusion. Peter and I turned towards each other, realization dawning on both of our faces. Fireworks? No, gunshots! As soon as Monica heard the word, she lunged from her seat. Shield Monica and the kids. I threw myself on Monica, Deanna, and Frank to shield them. Papa, what's happening? I knew it! We never should have gone! Chaos broke out as some guests flung themselves under their tables and others ran towards the door, screaming. Deanna burst into tears while Frank tried to comfort her, hiding the fear in his own eyes. 3 more gunshots rang out loudly. Mr. President, are you alright? Carl Greaser, head of the Swedish police force, was running towards us with 3 more police officers in decorated uniforms. They all had their guns drawn. As soon as he made it to us and saw that we were unharmed, he let off a big sigh of relief. Thank God. Status report! I think I'm just going to go with a more... What the hell is going on? 1 second, Mr. President. He ran quickly to his men. Check the perimeter now! Paul, Janssen, follow my lead. We'll bring them to the safe room. He now turned to Monica, Evelyn, and the children and spoke in a softer voice. Do not worry. Situation is now under control. Please follow me. Promptly followed Carl through the winding halls and corridors of the palace. His men still had their guns drawn, which did nothing to ease the tension. On the way, Peter made an attempt to break the silence. What a fucking night. Yeah, you said it, Peter. Yeah, well, you can say that again. Carl turned to us with a serious face as we were about to round a corner. Quiet, please. Sorry, I talk when I get nervous. Peter, shut up. Carl flipped a switch on the wall and a panel opened, revealing a hidden staircase leading to a large, reinforced door. Inside, a set of emergency lights flickered on. The safe room was comfortable and spacious, with expensive-looking leather sofas. Small security monitors on the wall displayed grainy footage of each room in the palace. There was a boardroom and a pantry containing enough provisions to last us months. Monica and Evelyn sat the children down and started wiping their tears. Carl stepped away from us and made a few radio calls. When he was done, he returned to me and Peter. So what's the status? Carl's radio suddenly cracked to life. Every second felt like an eternity as he pressed his ear to the receiver. When it fell silent, he turned to us. Good news. We're not in any danger at the moment. The situation has been dealt with and the perimeter has been secured by the guards and the police. Answers Monica and one of the kids. If I may, sir. Stood towards a more private corner of the room and started speaking more quietly. This is what we know so far. We've confirmed that 2 people were gunned down in front of the palace. The attacker is one of them, and we have reasons to believe he was working alone. He fired 3 shots at an MP, 1 to the head, 2 to the body, instantly killing him. Ooh. Presidential guards at the palace immediately shot and killed the attacker. He has not been identified yet and will require an investigation. The MP that was killed was identified as Bernard Circus. Oh. Oh, shit. Okay. That's big. That's the guy, that's the socialist guy that was a member of the MP that we were potentially going to be, like, working against. So, like, the head of the Socialist Party basically just got gunned down at the palace. Okay, that's bad. That's real bad. Yeah, big bad. Yeah, that's not... The head of a party being gunned down at an inauguration is, that's a big oof. This is huge, Anton. This will cause a lot of problems. Yeah, yes, Peter. That is exactly what I was just talking about. A lot of problems. Peter pulled out 2 cigarettes and handed me one. It entered to Evelyn. I could hear him trying to reassure her that everything was going to be alright. Monica was still trying to tend to Diana as Frank paced the room, mumbling that he should have stayed home. I think I'm going to comfort Monica and the kids. We are safe. I'll make sure everything's going to be fine. Can't be sure of anything anymore, Anton. Lit my cigarette and took a deep drag. I was going to see this through and keep my family safe. At all costs. I crushed a cigarette on the ashtray. Well, that was a thing. Let's see what the news has to say about that. Brill says bill was necessary for democracy. That was the campaign finance roll thing. Rain not interested in corporations. I didn't say that! I didn't say that I didn't have any episodes. Oh, you stupid Sorlin paper. Sorlin has been shocked by grave news today. His elected member of parliament has been shot dead in suspected political assassination. Police sirens were heard around the clock today as the whole police force increased security measures around the capital. The fact that such a violent act happened at the heart of the capital during the new president's inauguration celebration has worried many citizens. The Red Youth has reported to have promised revenge. Oh, that's not great. This seems like it has the potential to be a spark that would swirl Sorlin into political violence in the 1920s. That's also not great. Don't be doing that, guys. It's maybe not. Maybe don't do that. What does the journal say? Oh, all this is turn 1. Jeez. This is gonna be a long game. Excuse me. Longer than any thought over. Alright, let's see what the... Yeah, this is still turn 1. So all this has happened before, like, the first year really happened, which is the reason why this railway hasn't actually moved any at all. Like, we're basically at inauguration day. Like, this is... Yeah, all this is not even really moved it past that, so this is gonna be... This is gonna be an involved game. Day 1, I showed up, I signed a bill, I told him to start making a railroad, and then I showed up at a ball and someone got shot in the face. This is a hell of a day. Alright, let's read the security increase, and then I might call it there, because I don't think we want to go too much farther. We'll leave it on a little bit of a cliffhanger. But let's see what the security increase thing says. Security measures in the capital have been heightened after the murder of Bernard Circus. Yeah, that makes sense. Mayor of Holswood reports that everything is under control. Security around the Maroon Palace has been increased with the combined efforts of the Holswood Police Department and the Presidential Guard. Additionally, the entrance procedures to the palace are being revised with advice from security professionals. Police Chief Carl Greaser reports that an investigation has been launched on the murder of Bernard Circus. I'm gonna look at Carl Greaser here and see what his deal is. Did it in 1950, so he's a post-Soul guy. Sworn in by Lilius Graf. Prior to his appointment to the position, he served as the Chief of Police of Arvery. So his career in law enforcement with his appointment in the Arvery Police Academy in the late 20s. After graduating the top percent of his class, he was sworn in as a patrolman to serve the citizens. When a Deputy Commissioner of Operations, his capacity improved the department's strategic and tactics for reducing crime and solving concerns of the diverse communities of Arvery. So he has a pretty solid track record, at least on paper. That's good. Alright, I think, let's see. Is this where yeah. I think that is where I'm going to call it today. Like I said, it's one of those things where I don't think we're going to get much better than having a member of the Soviet, or well, Socialist Youth, not Soviet Youth, Socialist Youth party or whatever it was, the Red Youth, the former Red Youth leader guy being shot down in front of our inaugural ball. So I think I'm going to call it there. Save and exit. That means, oh, Mia, move it over to the same screen. And now I can be here. That means that I think I'm going to call it a day. Like I said, thank you all for joining me, or if you are watching this over on YouTube after I put it up, thank you all for watching this on YouTube. If you did not catch this live, come on over and watch it on twitch.tv/ComradeHuskyGaming. If you did catch it live and want to see the Fermi Paradox run that I did as well, you can go over and check on my YouTube. There's some links to that channel around places, either on my Twitter or links kind of around in the Twitch, whatever my Twitch page is. It's around there somewhere. On Twitter, it's at ComradeHusky. If you're not following me there, that's where you will see when I go live for games like this. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I definitely did. I will definitely be playing more of this at some point. I hope you also enjoyed my little avatar. It is still very cute. I'm still very happy that Shady Pixel did it for me. So if you can go in and give him love as well, or at the very least a follow. Although I do, for those who are not as much into the furry community, I will say he does a little bit of not safe for work stuff as well. So just be aware of that. But that will be it for today. I will be streaming probably later on this week at some point, maybe continuing this, maybe doing something else, I don't know. And of course, on Wednesday, we'll be back at you here with Wednesday Night Wars, hopefully, fingers crossed. We had a little off week last week, but we should be there as well, so we'll be back with Heel Kaiju for that. But until then, I bid you all adieu.